Good morning, YouTube. As most of you know, I have a psychotic mental illness, bipolar 1 with psychosis. Managing a psychotic mental illness, managing psychosis. The first step is you need to admit it, acceptance. When you're first diagnosed with psychosis, once you've recovered, when you're psychotic, you don't believe the diagnosis, but once you're recovered enough to comprehend what's going on, you may go through the cycles of grief, denial, anger, and the rest until eventually you reach acceptance. In order to successfully manage a psychotic illness, you have to first accept it or you won't. We can't manage what we don't accept exists. So the first step is acceptance. Second thing that's important in managing a psychotic illness is insight. Depending on the psychotic illness that you have, whether it's severe and persistent, intermittent, you're going to have varying levels of insight into your condition. And depending on how sick you are at any given time, you're going to have varying levels of insight into your condition to be able to identify that you are symptomatic. But insight is very useful and helpful in managing your symptoms because insight allows you to identify, hey, this unreal experience that I'm having is an unreal experience. It allows you to differentiate between reality and symptomology and allows you to get in front of your disorder through medication adjustment, notifying your doctors, whatever it is that you need to do, reducing your stress, getting back into a structured day, all the ways that you can help deal with it. Or if you have ongoing low-level symptoms and you still have insight retained, you're able to more peacefully and calmly exist while having an ongoing psychotic experience. Because that's just part of my illness. And acceptance of the illness is a big key in being able to have insight into your symptoms, because if you don't accept that you have an illness, it's really hard to have these experiences, and it's just a symptom. So insight is very, very helpful. Medication compliance. People go back and forth on mental illness and medication. And there's a wide range of options for every different case. However, when it comes to psychosis, each psychotic episode that you have can be longer than the last, and there's no guarantee that it will stay intermittent. It could be more severe and more persistent every time you have an episode, and it causes damage every time you have an episode that may not be repairable when you come back. And so it's really essential, besides just the chaos that they cause when they happen, but that they may leave permanent damage and they may get longer and worse every time you have them, that you prevent them. You can't live a functional life and be having a full-blown psychotic episode. The two don't mix. It's not a possibility. So natural courses are not advised. Medication is almost a given. Almost. There are exceptions to every rule, but by and large, medication is often a requirement if you have a psychotic illness, especially if you've had more than one episode. They may treat you intermittently, but psychosis often guarantees medication. So medication compliance is another big key in managing living with a psychotic illness. If you quit taking your medication, you have a resurgence of psychotic symptoms. And the rebound, such as coming off of any other medication, like a blood pressure medication, if you take it, your body gets used to it, and you come off the blood pressure medication, your blood pressure could spike even higher than expected, and that it was initially, because it's used to being suppressed by the medication. So suddenly coming off of your antipsychotic medication can give you a extreme episode. So medication compliance is a big one. Having a connected network of physicians, doctors, excuse me, therapists, professionals, people. There's an unfortunate number of homeless, mentally ill people because they're not being treated. They're trapped in their psychosis, and many will not want to be treated because of their psychosis. But having a connected network of doctors, professionals managing your illness, keeping an eye on you, especially if you lose the capacity to keep an eye on yourself, and providing necessary medication and necessary intervention is a big key in successful management of living with a psychotic mental illness. So ditching your doctors, if you're lucky enough to have them, is not a good way to approach a psychotic mental illness. Having the support and informed network is important. The people that there's a lot of mystery that surrounds psychotic mental illnesses. Mental illness in general, but especially psychosis, really freaks people out. And it's this mysterious thing. When a majority of the population has had minor psychotic experiences during their life. Either they thought they heard somebody call their name. And these things happen under stress. More people have them than realize have them. It comes with medical conditions like Parkinson's. So it's not as extreme as it seems, but it has a tendency to freak people out and they misunderstand. In order to have the best management and outcome, it's really helpful to have a network of people. Unfortunately, again, like the homeless population with mental illness, not everyone with psychotic illness is sufficiently supported by their friends and family. They may not even have friends and family. But having friends and family, having a network of people, there are organizations that you can join that are like group hangout places for people with mental illnesses that you can connect with others that are in your same boat, and that'll provide you a network. But having a network of people that you educate properly about your condition so that they can be aware if they start to see symptoms, even if you don't. They can help you to help yourself. And also, so they're not so freaked out. Suddenly you're the same person you've always been. Just like having the flu. It's not a terrifying, mystifying disorder. And so you need to inform them, educate them, and calm them so that everyone's on the same page. Not freaking out is really helpful. Other people can stigmatize it and can be paralyzed and terrified of it too, but so can you. It's just an aspect of your being, and not being too alarmist about it is the best approach. Not identifying yourself as crazy, not identifying yourself as some sort of misfit or there's something wrong with you because you have this condition. It's just a condition. It's like any other thing, like diabetes. Don't freak out. Speaking of not freaking out, another helpful management of living with psychosis is to not freak out. Stress is a trigger for psychotic episodes. So trying to remain calm, trying to have a structured day, trying to reduce your stress levels as much as possible is a good thing. Getting quality sleep, getting quality food, and avoiding drugs, because drugs can interact with your medication, and drugs can interfere with the doctor's ability to assess your condition, because the symptoms could be coming from using or withdrawing from a drug or alcohol, and they can't tell what's your diagnosis and what's the medication benefiting you and what's symptoms coming from the use. And so avoiding use for those reasons is key. And also, if your brain chemicals are a little bit sensitive, throwing anything else in the mix that is mind-altering substance is not a good idea. It can trigger an episode. And so staying away from street drugs and alcohol is really wise. So let's see, I covered acceptance, insight, medication compliance, having a network of professionals and not ditching them if you're lucky enough to have them, having a supportive family, keeping your day simple, straightforward, predictable, stress-free, sleeping right, eating right, self-care, not panicking or identifying yourself as crazy or insane, having insight about your condition so that you can cope with ongoing symptoms, avoiding future episodes as much as possible, which should be, it's hard sometimes when you return to normal and you feel normal to stick with medication that has side effects. And people quit their medication. But as a powerful motivator to stay on medication is the potential that you have one of these episodes again and you never come back, or you have one of these episodes again and it causes severe and permanent damage. It's longer lasting, not just damage to your life, but damage to your mind, and you're not the same as you ever were. That should be a powerful incentive to stay on top of things. Otherwise, managing a psychotic mental illness is the same as managing any other mind. You wake up every day and you go about your life and you try to stay as happy, helpful, loving, and normal as possible. You're not different or alien or foreign or looking at imminent disaster because you have a psychotic mental illness. It's more common than you realize. It's just a piece of you. It's not your definition. But I haven't made a mental illness video in a while, and I wanted to give some tips and ideas about psychosis, which I haven't talked about a great deal, in managing living with a chronic psychotic illness. Hopefully it's helpful or informative. Love you guys. Bye, YouTube. Good morning.